Shout it out loud when we're going.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay.
We're live. All right. Link, can you lay down? Good boy. Link, we're on. Want to do one more trick before we go? Can I have a high five? Good boy. You're a good man. Hi, everybody. We're back in Colorado. Lincoln and I went for a nice run this afternoon, didn't we? Didn't we? And now we're back to answer your questions. And I know, we got work to do, buddy. We got work to do. Okay, no more treats. So we had a nice run. We actually went up the pass here in the mountains. So we were at between probably 9,000 and 10,500 feet of altitude. And we even came across a big wild turkey that went flying over our heads. So it was fun. And he wasn't perturbed by it at all. He's used to wildlife. Even some of the bears he's used to. But so lots of questions. What I'll do initially, again, as I did earlier today, we had a special product for this online event, and the special product was our Cholestericare. There was an interesting question as to whether there's scientific support for Cholestericare, and of course there is. Cholestericare is approved, the ingredient is approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to lower total and LDL cholesterol, to also help to reduce your risk of heart disease. So it sounds like a drug claim, but it is not a drug. It actually does work. You could read the reviews for Cholestericare. It's best pricing ever, literally today, special pricing today. Also, Fibermucil along with it. Fibermucil helps Cholestericare work even better to lower your cholesterol even more. Great for this time of year with all the picnics and gatherings when we might be throwing caution to the wind a little bit when it comes to what we eat. So I thought Cholestericare and Fibermucil would be fun little products to have at today's special like pricing just for the event today. And then, of course, I just was going to mention for the monthly special, because we're only a few days away from the end of the month, we have our standardized turmeric extract, our standardized ginger extract, also our prostate support. So as men, I'm a man, we all get older. As we get older, our prostates enlarge. The enlargement of that prostate in virtually all men will have an impact on their urinary function, on their bladder function. So oftentimes that's observed initially with a little bit of urgency with urination, say waking in the middle of the night, and a little bit of difficulty emptying the bladder. I think we often think that aging brings more issues to women than men, but men, we also have our share. So, but prostate support is Mother Nature's natural tool to help support a healthy prostate as men get older. So wonderful product. Our saw palmetto extract now is only 1 capsule daily, so it's even more affordable than it's ever been. Originally it was 2 capsules daily. So it's more affordable, and it's today's special pricing as the part of the monthly special for the month of June. So those are the special products. Unlike our former month online event where we had not just all the questions that I was answering, we also had literally a today's special. We really wanted this to be focused on not selling product or offering product, but really on your questions. And by making an effort to provide information earlier today, talked a lot about blood pressure, talked a lot about blood sugar and the things we could do to support healthy blood sugar levels, talked about our cinnamon extract, also talked about our berberine product, talked about Cholestericare, Fibermucil, talked about issues like depression, anxiety, and really that when it comes to dietary supplementation, they really take a backseat to lifestyle changes, the things we could do in our life with our diet, with lifestyle, to help us enjoy a better life. And now I'll get back to more questions. And there are probably thousands of questions that have come in. Fortunately, so many of you share similar questions, similar issues, that when I answer one question, I'm actually answering 30, 40, 50 questions at the same time. But where was I? So someone said they've been diagnosed with fatty liver disease. I take your supplements now. I see a product called Livitone is recommended. Do you carry that? We don't carry Livitone. That's someone else's product. In looking at it in the past, it's not a terribly impressive product. It just has some B vitamins in it. It has some extract of milk thistle, standardized for silymarin, I believe. And then it had just a complex of stuff without any disclosed quantities or any disclosed standardizations. Certainly no dietary supplement is going to treat or prevent fatty liver disease or cirrhosis or any of the other questions I'm asked. But to the extent dietary supplements offer ingredients that are either structurally important for the liver and the maintenance of the liver, and the liver is perhaps our hardest working organ and has some incredible regenerative properties that no other organ in our body possesses. So in terms of our phosphatidylcholine, our PC granules, that is the raw material, the building block of not just all the cells in our body, especially brain cells, but really for liver cells. 35% of the membrane surface area in our liver is made up of phosphatidylcholine. So our PC granules, our PC capsules as well, but our PC phosphatidylcholine granules, that's the most affordable way. A little teaspoon of that delivers an abundance of phosphatidylcholine, phosphatidylinositol, phosphatidylethanolamin, and also phosphatidylserine. So the PC granules are an incredibly important way to support your liver naturally, just like giving calcium is important for your bones, and just as glucosium and chondroitin are important for your structural tissue of your joints as building blocks. PC is even more important as a building block to your liver. So that's really the place to start, would be with our PC capsules, or even more affordably with our PC granules. And the PC granules are delicious. Muriel and I kind of munch on them. It's like a powder, a granule or a powder when you put it in your mouth. But it quickly, because it's phospholipids, it's these phosphorylated fats, it quickly tastes sort of like nut butter in your mouth. So really yummy. You can mix it with oatmeal or oat bran, and it's delicious. You can put it in a smoothie. It adds wonderful texture to the smoothie. So they're great. I just like a little teaspoon of them, and that's perfect. The other product are liver antioxidant extracts. It focuses on 3 botanicals that have the abundance of clinical support in terms of supporting a healthy liver, promoting the tissue regeneration that's such an important and critical function of our liver. Our liver is doing all this detoxifying work in our body, dealing with all the nasty chemicals and all the nasty chemical byproducts of what we eat and of life itself. Life and the life of all our cells gives rise to all sorts of nasty byproducts. And the liver is the one place where those nasty byproducts have to go to be detoxified and excreted. Whether it's medications we take, whether it's alcohol we drink, whether it's just fatty metabolism, cholesterol metabolism, protein metabolism, the liver has to handle all the dirty work. So the important botanicals in terms of promoting, supporting that work, that hard work the liver does, plus the regenerative capabilities, meaning the ability the liver has, unlike any other organ in our body, to regenerate new tissue. Really an impressive capability. You need to make sure it has the building blocks, the PC granules, delivers those, and then the ingredients, the botanicals that support these regenerative, these detoxifying properties. That's our liver antioxidant extracts, which is, of course, milk thistle extract, the highest standardization available. Also, our unique turmeric extract that is complexed with fatty acids, and we do the same with our milk thistle extract as well, because it's better absorbed and it's more bioavailable and it's more bioactive, delivering more benefits and activity when it's complexed with fat. So we complex our milk thistle the same as we complex our turmeric. Turmeric, without that complexing with fat, is only 1 or 2 or 3% as active as it is after it's complexed. We basically, when it comes to turmeric, the same with our standalone turmeric product, which is our monthly special, that product, just as turmeric has been observed in India to be beneficial in the diet, it's beneficial in the diet because it is cooked into stews, and when cooked into stews, it overcomes turmeric's inherent lack of absorptive ability, inherent lack of solubility. And in order to make it soluble, in order to make it active in a supplement, we take a page basically out of an Indian cookbook and we deliver it complexed with fat, just as it would be if it was cooked into a stew. So you get both the turmeric extract, you get the milk thistle extract, and then you also get our artichoke extract standardized for cynarin. So you get a milk thistle extract standardized for silymarin, you get our turmeric extract standardized for curcuminoids, both of them complexed with fat to enhance their benefits and activity. And then in addition, you get our artichoke extract standardized for cynarin. Those are for issues that folks might have with liver. We often hear about folks with elevated liver enzymes or say other more complicated issues. None of these products are treating disease, but what they are delivering are ingredients that have been demonstrated to deliver, to promote healthier activities in terms of liver function, to support those critical functions that we rely on our liver to be performing on our behalf every day. I've always said that, and someone I had met a long time ago, because a friend of mine was married to him. But Rodney Dangerfield, I met him probably 30 years ago in Los Angeles, but the comedian whose favorite line or famous line, he'd pull on his tie and he'd say, "I just don't get no respect or get any respect." That's our liver. It doesn't get respect. We think about our brain because we think with our brain. We think about our heart because we think it's the repository of love. We feel our heart beating. We think about our lungs because we inhale, we feel our chest expand. If we run up a flight of stairs, especially if you run up a flight of stairs at altitude here, you're out of breath. You have a conscious connection to those organs, those systems within our body. We can take our pulse because we feel the blood coursing through our blood vessels. But when it comes to our liver, what conscious connection do we have to our liver? Even though it is the hardest working organ in our body, but as I said before, it gets no respect. We just rely on it every day. We have to take medications for our good health. We eat protein, we eat fat. We have cholesterol metabolism taking place in our body at all times. We have to process these medications. We have to process the alcohol we might consume in alcoholic beverages. Our liver does it nonstop, 24/7, whether we're awake, whether we're sleeping. It's never working any less. So it deserves a bit of respect, and the best way to show that respect is in two very common sense ways. Either PC granules or the PC capsules, because those are the critical structural components that are not abundant in our diet. In fact, I was just reading an article that choline, phosphatidylcholine, the best way to deliver it, is now being talked about being an essential ingredient in prenatal supplements. So it's not abundant in our diet. It's recognized as being essential, and it's critically essential to the structure and function of our liver. Then, of course, botanicals that have a history of supporting the detoxifying work that our liver does, because the liver itself, dealing with all these sort of nasty chemicals and this nasty chemical work, it needs a hand in terms of detoxification and, of course, supporting its incredible regenerative properties. So that was a great question, and it's not just fatty liver disease or questions on cirrhosis or all things like that. These are not ingredients that are offering a cure or prevention. The best thing we could do if we do have issues with our liver, try to be reasonable and avoid alcoholic beverages. Try to do things that don't tax your liver any more than is absolutely necessary, because supplementation is basically looking at diet, looking at dietary supplements as a wonderful natural tool to support and give a hand to our liver rather than further burdening it, as our typical lifestyle, the way we eat and what we do, typically ends up just burdening our liver even more. So as we continue, when will Choco Nouveau be back in stock? Dozens and dozens and dozens of questions about that. Choco Nouveau can't be back in stock until October. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the chocolate we use, it's literally the finest chocolate you could find anywhere in the world. And although it's dark chocolate, when we combine it with our cholesterol-lowering ingredient, it gives it the texture of milk chocolate. Of course, milk chocolate is more susceptible to melting, so we can't ship Choco Nouveau in summer. And of course, the sizes we offer are large and heavy. So if we were going to load it up with ice packs, it just becomes not very environmentally sound, not very practical. The shipping ends up costing more than the product. So it will be back, and even then, when it's 110 degrees in parts of this country, there's just no dealing with that. So we tried doing it last summer, it just didn't work. So unfortunately, Choco Nouveau goes away between April and October. But it will be back in October. That's only, 3.5 months away. So it's just around the corner. We still have our Cholesterol. That's one of the reasons it's our special for the online event, because the same cholesterol-lowering ingredient is in those capsules. It just doesn't taste nearly as good when you swallow those capsules, because the chocolate in our Choco Nouveau is without question unlike anything else. When Muriel and I were just in France, I had some of the Choco Nouveau squares, and I was talking to the chef at the restaurant who had this wonderful sugar-free chocolate mousse, that I had this wonderful chocolate lowered cholesterol, and he's like, yeah. So without question, he tried it and agreed that it was the best chocolate he'd ever tasted in his life. And this is from a serious chef in France. So it is, and we're all fortunate to have it, but it won't be back until October. But I'll make sure as soon as the weather permits, we will have it back. And by the way, the folks talking about when it will come back, they were wondering because they had great results with it reducing their cholesterol, and of course they enjoyed the chocolate as well. This is a funny question. I read this earlier. Someone had taken the products in. Mary has taken the products in to her doctor, and I guess the doctor liked the products, although the doctor was troubled by a statement that was on all of our bottles. And the bottle states, these statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Any vitamin supplement in this country that has what's called a structure or function claim on the product, saying that, say, turmeric can support healthy liver detoxification. The moment you make a claim for a structure or function benefit, or that calcium is essential for healthy bones, or that vitamin D is essential for the absorption of calcium, the moment you make those kinds of structure function claims, you have to put that statement on the bottle, basically saying that although you're making that claim, and it should be an appropriate claim, that it wasn't reviewed in advance of it being put on the bottle by the Food and Drug Administration. That's just standard requirement. So having that on a bottle doesn't in any way diminish the veracity, the truthfulness, the validity of those claims. It's simply a requirement that we do so in this country. So that's kind of funny. So that the doctor thought that was a problem, but most doctors get no education in nutrition, no education in nutritional supplement, and certainly are not aware of the laws governing food and drug law. They are educated in how to diagnose disease mostly and how to treat them with medications or surgery or other procedures. Unfortunately, not getting a lot of education in how to prevent disease in terms of modifying our lifestyle, modifying our diet, and things like that, which, notwithstanding that, when you talk to medical experts or scientific experts, they'll agree, and depending on who you talk to, that 50 to 80% of the health issues we deal with in this country are diet related, are lifestyle related. So despite the fact that we don't educate our doctors or our medical institutions on all of these wonderful preventive strategies, notwithstanding that, it is agreed that those preventive strategies can make a huge impact, have a huge impact on our health costs in this country. So someone talked about having a herniated disc and sciatic nerve pain. This is Michelle. What do I recommend for this? They've been taking steroids and pain medication. Supplements aren't necessarily going to help with a herniated disc or a sciatic nerve pain. To the extent you can take marine collagen peptides to support healthy cartilage, and there have been some studies talking about increased synthesis of cartilage and cartilage-related tissues and things like that with marine collagen peptides. But what I would simply say when it comes to a herniated disc or sciatica, that's really going to be really intelligent physical therapy, perhaps doing things like yoga, working closely with your doctor to strengthen muscle groups and muscle tissues that will somehow take the stress off your back, and perhaps doing some things with flexibility. But the key to having a healthy back is making sure that the musculature around that, the core muscles, the abdominal muscles, the lower back muscles, that you have both adequate strength and flexibility. That unfortunately back issues often make us more sedentary and less active. And I could say, as someone who's had my share of back issues in my very active sports life, the more active I am, the more flexible I become, the more I strengthen those key areas, the more I eliminate and reduce my back problems or back issues. That back problems or back issues are pretty much part of the human condition, and to a certain extent we all tend to possess them at various times in our lives. But there are all sorts of wonderful things and wonderful strategies, whether it might be acupuncture or acupressure, or things like rolfing that I learned about when I was running track a long time ago. And rolfing is a very deep tissue kind of massage. That there's all sorts of wonderful things we can do to enhance the other strategies, perhaps the medications or injections or surgery that we might otherwise do. But surgery on its own, without us working to follow the physical therapy rigorously that our doctors recommend, and strengthening those key muscle groups and supporting our core muscles and abdominal muscles and things like that, especially when it comes to our back, certainly when it might come to knee surgery or hip surgery or things like that. The more we make an effort, and there's all sorts of information available on the internet in terms of things we can do ourselves, the better our recovery and the better our long-term prospects. Sitting idly by and just thinking surgery and drugs alone are going to save the day is naive.
And even our doctors and physical therapists will tell us that the harder and more intelligently we work, the better the benefits will be. So much for that one. I talked about muscle health, amino acids, and all of that earlier today in detail. I probably got a little carried away about that. Question about someone suffering from scleroderma and fibromyalgia, which are syndromes that affect a large number of individuals in this country, more women than men. There's no real supplement specifically to deal with that. What I always recommend is a diet that's low in inflammation. And I've talked to Muriel, I think she's in the kitchen. I was looking, trying to see if I peek through if I could see her. But talk about doing a cookbook, because so much about being healthy long-term in life is by lowering the inflammatory state in our body. By inflammation, I'm not talking about, say, the specific inflammation in a joint or something like that. But inflammation is when we consume provocative foods, when we are not in a good state from our immune system or other things going on in our body. It could promote a state of what would be called inflammation. There are certain foods that tend to be less provocative, tend to be quieting of that inflammatory state. So I've talked to Muriel about doing a little cookbook that would be wonderful if you're having, say, autoimmune issues, things like, in addition, things like, say, fibromyalgia, or earlier we had someone who was suffering from the after effects of Lyme disease. That it's, as I often say, one of the nicest things we could do to our body, or do for our body, when it comes to the food we eat, because every time we eat, we're putting strange foreign materials in our body. It's a remarkable process, and food is perhaps the most frightening thing. Eating is the most frightening thing we do every day. We put this strange material in our body. We expect our body to be able to digest it, extract what it needs from it to keep us alive, and then get rid of it before it toxifies us. So to the extent we could eat foods that are less provocative, less burdensome, more supportive of our good health, if we have these health issues already going on, it can make a profound difference in the way we feel and the progress of our recovery from these issues. So whatever it might be, whether we're suffering from cancer, whether it's after heart surgery, whatever it might be, to the extent we can eat a diet that's less provocative, to choose the fats and oils that are healthier, to choose things like extra virgin olive oil instead of things like, as much as people might choose it, instead of things like canola oil or corn oil or things like that. A much better decision, avocado oil. There's good decisions we can make. Apple cider vinegar and coconut oil. What's my perspective on coconut oil? Really good question. Coconut oil is one of those things that because of its high content of saturated fat, and I think it's 90 to 92, 93% saturated fat, and there is clear research that high levels of saturated fat can increase total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol concentrations. Some of the saturated fat in coconut oil are shorter chain, therefore not as susceptible to causing those kinds of adverse changes in our cholesterol subfractions. And there are indications that coconut oil could actually increase HDL levels, the higher, the healthy cholesterol level that we want to see higher. So I'm not totally convinced that we should consume coconut oil with abandon. I like to consume things like extra virgin olive oil or healthy avocado oil, things like that. Those are the choices that Mira and I tend to make at home. In terms of apple cider vinegar, whenever you see things that are proposed as a miracle and a panacea, you pretty much know they aren't. It's not unhealthy. I think apple cider vinegar is pretty much, what do they just do? They make apple cider and then they convert the alcohol into, which is alcohol is alcohol is ethyl alcohol, ethanol, and then they convert that into acetic acid. That's, I guess, apple cider vinegar. It's all derived from apples, originally from apple cider. So again, there's no reason to think it unhealthy. I guess it could be irritating to the mouth, and many people take like a tablespoon of it. I think they take it for GERD, for gastric esophageal reflux disease. I'm not aware of clinical studies that show that it actually is beneficial or healthy for that. So in terms of both of those are my perspectives. Muriel occasionally will have her apple cider vinegar. I don't see anything wrong with it, but I don't see anything miraculous or special about it. And the more I hear exaggerated claims about things, the more it just makes me dismiss them to a certain extent. As far as coconut oil, it's not as bad as it once was thought to be, and at one time it was hydrogenated, which would make it terrible. So it's not as bad as it was once thought to be, but I don't think it's, again, this miracle or panacea that it's purported to be. But I don't think it's something that needs to be obsessively avoided, and I don't look at it as dangerous or harmful, but I think it needs to be consumed moderately. And the next question from Catherine is asking, I know that you keep a very strict food protocol diet. I'm not sure how strict it is. I tend to eat a lot, as I often joke about on TV. I eat a seafood diet. If I see food, I eat it, which is a problem when you when you live with a chef. And of course, Muriel only makes healthy foods. But today she probably made a 2-pound turkey, a 2-pound chicken, almost the size of a turkey. And I think I pretty much did away with it, just snacking on it today. So if something's left out in front of me, it tends to disappear. They also had some wonderful bacon. I think it was Jenny's bacon. And unfortunately, before I went for a run this afternoon, I noticed that there were about a half a dozen slices of bacon left sitting out on the counter. They didn't last long. So, and Lincoln shared them with me. So, but it was homemade bacon, so it was really good. And so I tend to, I don't really eat much red meat at all anymore. I eat turkey, I eat chicken, I eat abundant amounts of fish. When Muriel and I were just in France visiting her family, we're in the south of France, and fresh fish, you literally see it come off the boat. So that's a wonderful thing. I eat lots of vegetables, lots of fruit, lots of nuts and seeds. And something I just started doing recently is when I have my tea, which you see here, and this is my mint green tea. It's later in the day, but because I was doing the show, I figured I'd have a little caffeine later in the day. But that was a teaspoon of blueberry, like a concentrated blueberry extract that I put in there. So that's something I've been adding to my tea. So my diet is quite healthy. I don't tend to eat processed foods. I don't tend to eat sugars don't eat any refined sugar. I'll eat things that might contain sugar, like fruit, and I have no problem with that at all, because fruit is rich in protective compounds. But I think because I tend to eat a lot, but because I'm relatively active, but things that I eat are not very calorically dense overall. Certainly the nuts and seeds are a little bit, but I also like things like, dried dates. I find dates to be delicious, so if I really crave something sweet, rather than eating candy, I'll just grab a date. And of course, whether it's in terms of nuts, that's what I was asked here, is what are my views on the favorite nuts? So that was another question. And my favorite nuts, and it kind of varies. There's great research on almonds, but my favorite nuts, typically, I look at pecans, and I also look at walnuts as being exceptionally healthy. Their composition of fatty acids, the amount of tocotrienols and the natural tocopherols that aren't found in typical vitamin supplements. They are found in mine because we focus on gamma tocopherol and tocotrienols, but not your typical supplements. But those are the nuts that I will tend to focus on. What's nice about nuts as well is they're very satisfying in small quantities. So for me, it's hard for me to get satisfied eating something that isn't to me kind of satisfying in my mouth. And the texture, the fats in nuts are satisfying for me in small amounts. So I think they make for great snacks. Hopefully others agree. And yeah, that was the question. Pecans, walnuts, almonds are great, cashews are great, Brazil nuts are great. But lately I've been having pecans, walnuts, pistachio nuts, and also a little bit of macadamia nuts. And the fatty acids are great. Next question, when am I going to have children's vitamins? We had a children's drink that I kind of made it go away. I really just wasn't a big fan of it. Most children's vitamins have to have all sorts of things in them to make them taste good. What we're probably going to do in terms of a children's vitamin, and we've been playing with this a little bit now, because we've gained so much experience making our Choco Nouveau, I thought, what about making a small chocolate treat? Because they have these gummies for kids that are full of all sorts of sugars and sweeteners and all sorts of things that I really wouldn't want a child to be having just to get their vitamins. And I figured in just maybe 20, 30 calories of chocolate, and of course, If you don't put a lot of sugar in there, so it's not going to be very sweet chocolate, you get the beneficial compounds in chocolate, which are beneficial for children just as they are for adults. But we're looking at making chocolate, instead of a gummy, making a small little chocolate snack being a source of the vitamins and multivitamins for children. So that's something we're playing with. I'd enjoy hearing your feedback while we're doing our research on that, because it's going to take us a little while to get done. But that's, in terms of a children's vitamin, it's just not somewhere. What you could always do is you could always take our Essential 1, you could always put it in a smoothie, open up the capsule, put it in a smoothie, and a child could get the benefits. Or once a child is old enough to swallow a capsule, once they're say 12, 13 years old, to swallow a capsule, then the Essential 1 would be fine for them. What we usually say is above 80 pounds, 12, 13 years of age, the Essential 1 multivitamin is a perfect multivitamin. So, but no children's multivitamins yet. Just to make them tasty enough and appealing enough, you end up having to add things that are undesirable. But we think we'll be able to do something like that with chocolate. And if you think that would be a good idea, let me know. Because as I often say, unlike other companies, you are my product development team. So you will let me know whether something I'm doing is a good idea or not. And if it's not a good idea, we make it go away. If it's a good idea, we will make it come to life. So, next question, cholesterol and high blood pressure. They've been trying to get the cholesterol below 200. This is Elaine. I talked previously about Cholesterol and tocotrienols. Tocotrienols won't really have much of an impact on cholesterol level. There's some research and science, but not a lot of it, not a lot of data that would support that. I would sooner look at omega-3s or CoQ10 as supporting healthy cholesterol levels. Certainly berberine does. One capsule a meal of berberine can have a significant impact on cholesterol level and also can have a significant impact on supporting healthy blood sugar levels as well. But Cholesterol, Fibermucil, one capsule of Cholesterol with each meal, 1 or 2 capsules of Fibermucil with each meal, and you could expect to reduce cholesterol levels at least 15%, and in many cases significantly more than that. You don't have to believe me. You could read the reviews for Cholesterol or the reviews for Choco Nouveau. It's the same ingredient in Choco Nouveau, just Choco Nouveau won't be available until October. But that's why for today, we have the Cholesterol at event pricing, pretty much today, special pricing. The next thing, blood pressure. And I talked about blood pressure earlier today. We're looking at some botanicals that can support healthy blood sugar levels like olive leaf extract. There are different forms and different standardizations. I've been looking at olive fruit extract for years and years, and we might be getting close on something like that. Blood pressure, again, not something we mess with, blood pressure, in terms of going off your medication. The only way you go off your medication is if you're working with your doctor and say losing weight and doing other things that you're ensuring that as you're going off your blood pressure medication, your blood pressure is staying low. And one of the most important things, if you're taking blood pressure medication, you should be constantly, consistently checking your blood pressure. It's not enough just to take the medicine. You need to know the medicine is working. Because we don't want to, just as I say, we don't want to go around, we don't want to live our life not at our ideal weight. We don't want to live our life not having healthy vitamin D levels. We don't want to live our life with high blood pressure levels. We don't want to live our life with high blood sugar levels or high A1C levels. These are things that once we know they're not in line, we need to deal with them. Blood cholesterol levels, the same thing. Blood cholesterol levels, blood sugar levels, they respond well to changes in diet. Blood pressure levels, if we're sodium sensitive, can respond well to changes in diet, but blood pressure levels in most of us will respond incredibly well to changes in body weight. So as we lose weight, our blood pressure control tends to improve significantly. So what next question here? Oh, CoQ10. My question is, will CoQ10 lower blood pressure? Mine runs on the low side already. I want to take the CoQ10. CoQ10 isn't something that, as I said before, is really going to lower blood pressure. It tends to support healthy blood pressure levels. So it's not something that if your blood pressure is a little low to start with, that it's going to make it lower. My blood pressure tends to run between 105, 115, over 60 to 75. So my blood pressure is a little bit low, and I haven't noticed it getting any lower. But then again, I've been taking CoQ10 for 33 years. Been taking omega-3s for 38 years. So for all I know, part of the reason why my blood sugar and blood pressure have always maintained at healthy levels, my fasting blood sugar is usually just under 90. My A1C is usually barely about 5.1. So my numbers stay in the healthy range. But then I eat a healthy diet. I stay at my appropriate weight. I'm often asked how much I weigh. I'm probably about 5'11". I weigh just over 170 pounds. My running shoes that I was asked what running shoes I'm wearing, typically I like running trails. So I wear running shoes that have a bottom on them that give you more traction on loose trails and rocks. So I tend to wear Sauconys. I also wear some minimalist trail running shoes from New Balance and also from Salomon. They have a new pair that laces up normally because I don't like their typical lacing system. And also some Brooks running shoes. So I give a lot of commercials for a lot of different running shoe companies. The most important things with running shoes, especially when you run trails and things and you run uphill, you have to find a shoe that fits you well, because for me, the bane of my existence is blisters. You go out for 10 or 12 miles, the last thing you want are blisters on your feet, and they can be just torture. So you want a pair of shoes that fit well. I have my perfect size in most shoes is between 12 and 13. Most companies don't make a 12 and a half. So it gets very hard for me to find a company that makes shoes for me. My feet are narrow in the back and wide in the front. So probably too much TMI, too much information. So you just have to find shoes that fit. What's great about the internet, you could order shoes. If they're not right, you get to send them back. So you could always find the perfect shoe, and there's no substitute for patiently finding the perfect shoe, because then it makes it very easy to be active, whether it's walking in your neighborhood. And as I was talking about earlier, in terms of exercise, of course you want to get clearance from your doctor, but in terms of exercise, and it's always something that I've adhered to, because I'm not naturally a very good endurance athlete. Even though I now do long distance things, naturally I'm a sprinter. I'm someone who was short distances very fast. So for me, those are the things that came naturally to me, and I always liked doing what's called interval training for that reason. What has now been shown in a number of studies that it's far more beneficial for our health and far more beneficial neurologically, physiologically, and so many different reasons, looking at the way it stimulates positive modifications in our genetic material, the way it stimulates positive modifications in our brain as we get older or in elderly individuals, that interval training, and you have to make sure you have clearance from your doctor to do this, but even if, say, you just would normally ride the bike for a half hour, and you'd ride it with your heart rate at maybe 110 or 120 or 130, whatever it might be, that doing intervals where you ride the bike slowly for, say, 2 or 3 minutes, and then you increase the resistance, or you stand up on the pedals, whatever it might be, and you work it very, very hard for 30 seconds or a minute, and then you stop and you go slowly again. And whether it might be the same thing with your walking, or it might be the same thing with your jogging, but those intense intervals, they stimulate wide-ranging physiologic changes in our cells, in our muscles, in our circulatory system, neurologic changes that the research continues to roll in, so much so, saying that doing these shorter workouts with these intense intervals is far better than workouts that are much longer. So just, I encourage everyone to do a little reading and do a little research on that. And because as I say to my friends, even if all you have is 12 minutes, I'll often say if all I have is 12 minutes, I have a couple of stationary bikes there. I have my mountain bike here, but I'll get on a stationary bike for 12 minutes. I'll ride it gently for 2 or 3 minutes. Then I do an interval for a minute, easy for 2 minutes, interval for a minute. I repeat that a couple more times, and in 12 minutes I'm off the bike. And I got a workout. So there's really no excuse for not getting a workout, even if it's just getting on the floor and doing some basic yoga postures for 12 minutes, which a number of years ago I had done what I said was the couch potato yoga workout. I literally did a yoga workout that you could do sitting on a couch or just sitting on the floor. And there's yoga that's called yin yoga, which is not the more stressful yoga where you're in these difficult standing postures, but where you're doing all of the postures on the floor. And they're deep stretches, and you could hold them for long periods of time, and anyone can do them, whatever your limitations might be. Even if you can't walk around, if you can't stand, you can certainly lay on the floor. And what's wonderful about yoga, every posture has a very basic version and has a more extreme version. But you could do yoga just sitting on the floor, and as we get older, our range of motion, the flexibility of our joints is just being diminished with the passage of time. So just getting on the floor and doing these basic postures, and who knows, maybe I need to do a basic video of those things again, and just showing these very, very simple, basic things we could do. I have a little stretching device over there. I have another little stretching thing for stretching my calves that I surround. This is my office. I surround myself in my office with things that enable me, when I get a moment, to do things that allow me to stretch. Because as we get older, certainly we lose our aerobic capabilities unless we train them. We lose our range of motion and flexibility unless we demand them, unless we work on them. We lose our strength and our muscle mass unless we stimulate our muscles. So it's something that as we all get older, it's incumbent upon us to do these things to maintain our youthful vitality, our youthful characteristics. I mean, I still run trails that I used to run, it's frightening to say, 40 years ago or more. And I still do them at a pretty good clip. And the only reason I do, or I can, is because I do. And it's amazing how much we can do if we simply apply ourselves, even in the most minimal fashion. Those first initial steps are always the most difficult. And it's, for me, I now haven't done as much yoga for a while. And when I first start up again, it's so discouraging. I'm so upset at myself for how I could let it go. And it only takes a matter of a week or two, and I'm back where I was, and I'm enthusiastic, and I wonder why. First of all, why did I stop in the first place? But second of all, why was I so discouraged when I started up again? So no matter what point you find yourself where you are, that's where you are. And it doesn't mean that's where you have to remain. And unless you do something, things aren't going to change for the better. But it doesn't take a major effort to see a significant change. And that's always what I try to encourage people with diet. You don't have to be perfect. You could just make a few minor changes here and there. Same with activity. I've always said you could just walk around your home or your apartment when you make your phone calls. I do that. When I'm on the phone, I will not sit down. So I'm just walking everywhere. Sometimes I could have 15,000 steps before noon just making phone calls. So there's little things we could find to integrate into our lives that can make our lives healthier. Movement is healthy. Movement is really not about weight loss, but movement really is about health. And movement is really about having a healthy body and having a healthy mind. The research and clinical studies on having a healthy mind as we grow older underscores the importance of not just being at our ideal weight and not just eating healthy, but more than anything, remaining active. So again, a reminder of all these things. But sorry, I digress a little bit. Where was I? This is from Jane. Hi, Andrew. I'm your biggest fan and probably take 45 different things from you. I didn't know we make 45 products. My question is, how do you build your immune system up? Let's see. My immune system is low. I've been taking many vitamins, and I can't bring it up. Doctors don't have the answers, and so I was just probably born with it. I guess I've got bad genes. I'm soon to be 82. Thanks for all you do. That's right. I read this morning, and I started laughing. Many of us would be very happy to make it to 82. So I think if someone's at 82 and sounds as energetic as that little note sounded, I think they're doing pretty well, and I think they've got pretty decent genes. But certainly when it comes to our immune system, there are things we can do in terms of our healthy diet. We hear a lot about probiotics in terms of just sustaining our friendly flora. And more than even taking a probiotic formula, we certainly make our friendly flora and our ultimate friendly flora. Eating a healthy diet is the most important thing you do for your friendly flora, because that's what feeds them, nourishes them, and sustains a healthy balance. Things like cruciferous vegetables, fruits and vegetables are great. Rich sources of fiber are great for regularity, but they're also great for our friendly flora. So those are wonderful things we can do for our immune system, making sure we have good vitamin C status, good status of B-complex vitamins, great for our immune system. We make our immune factors product, that's something that I tend to focus on during the winter months when we're surrounded and challenged by all sorts of things that tend to challenge our immune system. And the key to a healthy immune system, I always say, is healthy sleep. And I know the moment I say that, a lot of people just throw their hands up and say that's probably the most difficult thing to accomplish. We talked about this earlier today, how just outrageously challenging and stressful our world is today. It's, it's all we could do, some of us, to wake up in the morning. What I encourage everyone, I sort of encourage everyone at 2 o'clock to stop having caffeine. That's sort of what I do. If you have trouble sleeping, you should probably try to cut out caffeine totally. I know that's difficult to do because if you have trouble sleeping, sometimes the only way you get your day started is with the caffeine. And for some people, caffeine is the only way they kind of sustain their regularity in the morning. So I've read your emails and letters, I understand. But then it's important to make sure you cut off the caffeine at some time during the day if you want to be able to not be stimulated when it's time to go to sleep. Also, don't be receiving your news or reading your books on an electronic device. Go the old school way. Read a book. Personally, if I'm reading a book on an electronic device, it's not relaxing at all. If I read a book, I last 2 pages before I fall asleep. So also, don't be reading the news. Stay away from the news at the end of the day. There's nothing about the news that's good. It's frustrating, it's aggravating. So whichever side of the political spectrum you're on, we all seem to be victims of a world that we're helpless to change. So I'm the incurable optimist, but I too stay away from the news toward the end of the day because I want to go to sleep and have sort of happy, positive thoughts. And there's a show that probably many of you watch. And Muriel and I often, if we watch something on TV that might be a little stressful, a movie or something like that, we'll watch an episode of something like Modern Family because it's positive, it's uplifting, it makes you laugh. So I find laughter is the best way to kind of have a lighter sense of yourself when you go to sleep. So you're not worrying about things. Your mind isn't overly active in a negative way. So again, I'm reiterating a little bit what I talked about earlier, but I know that sleep is a major problem for so many of us. And as great as my nighttime product is, it's soothing, it's relaxing, the crux of our problem with sleep is more about our lifestyle, more about the world we live in, more about the hormonal changes that come with age, more about the increased responsibilities that come with age, more about the financial issues and burdens that come with having increased responsibilities. And certainly I understand, increased responsibilities. And as I said earlier, the biggest criticism I get from my family, my friends, is that I work too much. And I love my work, and work can be stressful. So even when we engage in a life that we love and enjoy, it's demanding, and it could take a toll on us. So I think it's up to us. I meditate twice a day, try to last a half hour when I do so, but at least 15 minutes. I try to do my yoga and stretching. I do that first thing in the morning, so it starts my day in a nice, quiet way, because I don't want to start the day sort of sprinting. I want to start the day at a nice, gentle pace, and I want to end the day at a nice, gentle pace as well. So alcohol is not something healthy when it comes to sleep. Here we are at altitude at over 8,000 feet this summer in the mountains, and that's challenging a bit for sleep. So there's all sorts of things we can do. The most important thing we can do is find a way to sort of change our frame of reference, process the world, the greater world, differently, understand that we can't change that greater world. So we need to really focus on where our sphere of influence is, the things we can change. And on those things, we can't let them burden us and weigh on us. We just deal with the things and change the things we can, accept the things we can't, and then just try to do that with a degree of peace. And that's all we can do. That there are people I have met in my life, certainly when I had spent some time in Tennessee at St. Jude, and dealing with children that have just what we would consider having drawn the worst lot in life. Imagine being a young child and suffering from cancer, and maybe not going to survive, but to see them happier than I've ever been in my life, it's just incredibly moving. So there is within all of us this thread, this shred of possibility to always be happy, no matter what the challenges might be. If you really want to, just thinking about that is very moving, but if you really want to have a healthy perspective on life, volunteer at a hospital near you. Volunteer with people who are struggling with disease. Volunteer at a place that's dealing with children that are struggling, and nothing will humanize you more. Volunteer at an animal shelter. These are things that tend to give us a much calmer, kinder, compassionate perspective. And I'm not talking about kinder, more compassionate perspective on others. I'm talking about a kinder, more compassionate perspective on ourselves, because most of us have no difficulty being kind and compassionate with others. It's exerting and showing that same kindness and compassion for ourselves. So just some suggestions. It's I think the most common thread I read in emails and letters is issues with sleep, anxiety, depression, things like that. And there's no real solution we're going to find in the outside world. It all lies within us. So if to the extent there's some little encouragement here, hopefully that was some suggestions that I've culled from years and years of reading, my own experience, and also the experience of others. What do they say? A wise man learns from experience. A truly wise man learns from the experience of others. And I try to spend a lot of time reading and learning from others far wiser than I am. And I try to share that information. So as we continue here, but hopefully I answered that question about the immune system, and it was amusing that getting bad genes but still being 82 and trying to figure out how to have the healthiest life possible at 82. That's great. So Vicky was having some issues with neuropathy, and that might be related, even though her numbers didn't look like it, that might be related to diabetic neuropathy. Again, when it comes to neuropathy, those are things you have to deal with your doctor. Also, she was taking, what was she taking? She was taking metformin, which is typical medication if someone has type 2 diabetes. Also, another medication, methimazole. I think that's for hyperthyroidism, but I'm not sure. And then oxycodone for pain, 15 milligrams 4 times a day. Wow. So obviously several medications that can be quite challenging to, even if you have perfect health, to move through the world comfortably taking those medications. So we have to follow our doctor's orders. We have to do the very best we can. Diabetic neuropathy can be debilitating. So what becomes very important is trying to manage our diabetes, follow our doctor's orders, try to lose weight, because that will make it easier to manage our blood sugar if that's part of the equation. Also, again, it could just support your body and support your doctor's efforts. Berberine, cinnamon extract, both of those help with healthy blood sugar levels. Supporting our healthy nervous system. We talked about PC granules earlier. I've talked about alpha lipoic acid and coenzyme Q10 in the past in terms of they're also supporting a healthy nervous system. But again, if the neuropathy is related to an underlying condition like diabetes, then you have to deal with that underlying condition with your doctor. And of course, your doctor is also going to recommend making the lifestyle changes that are necessary to help his or her treatment work even better for you. So again, there's no magic dietary supplement or magic lifestyle bullet, but boy, when you get all of them working in your favor, it's a very powerful tool. I talked about muscle health and went through most of these, apple cider vinegar things, so some of these questions are the same questions. Let's see. I take marine collagen peptides. 2 scoops a day and coffee every day. I've become, as I talked about earlier, the biggest fan for marine collagen peptides. That will be our Today Special in 2.5 weeks. In a week and a half, our Healthy Hair, Skin, and Nail Today Special, our most popular product, will be back. Both of them, best pricing ever, special formula on the Healthy Hair, Skin, and Nails, and a new, even more soluble version of our marine collagen peptides. But someone was asking me if they could take 8 to 10 scoops daily. Wow. That's a lot of marine collagen peptides. And that would be 40 to 80 grams of marine collagen peptides. Again, to give you a sense of how healthy my products are, how they don't really come with side effects. Of course, you should read the instructions, and it's great. Someone should ask me about taking more than the label recommendation, which would be 1 or 2 scoops daily. I'll take sometimes I'll take 2 to 4 scoops myself, because I'll almost use it as a little bit of a protein supplement, not just as a marine collagen peptide supplement. But 8 to 10 scoops, it's fine, it's harmless, but it's unnecessary. The research and clinical studies, you don't have to take that much. Even if you look at the studies where the highest levels were delivered, the highest levels delivered were less than half of that. So, and again, marine collagen peptides, I take it mainly for the benefits for my joints, connective tissue, the active life I lead. Muriel takes it mainly for the benefits to her skin because she wants to be as wrinkle-free as possible for as long as possible. But now she appreciates it for her joints because Muriel is just as active as I am. She's pretty amazing when it comes to going up trails and biking. She's very strong. So not just a great chef, but a very strong athlete as well. Next question on, so no problem taking 8 to 10 scoops a day of it. You can mix it in your smoothies, oatmeal, oat bran, things like that. I just put it in water, but really no need to be taking that much. That sort of investment would be unnecessary. Menopause. Since starting menopause, I've seen weight gain and change in my hair. What can a woman do to counter that change? Ultimate Women's Wellness is the first line of defense we always talk about in supporting a healthy hormone balance through the perimenopausal and menopausal changes. The reviews on that product will talk about these things. Healthy hair, skin, and nails along with it in terms of dealing with that hormone-related thinning of the hair. Because to the extent our hair grows out thicker and healthier, it will tend to break off less frequently and less severely. Again, there's an abundance of reviews that speaks to exactly that point for both Ultimate Women's Wellness, and for healthy hair, skin, and nails. I always like to emphasize reading the reviews because the reviews, and it would be great. I'm not sure if HSN has this capability. Usually I have these crazy ideas, and then eventually they do this. They've been very supportive in that regard. But I wonder if there's a capability, say with healthy hair, skin, and nails, if someone could type in hair loss or menopausal hair loss or whatever it might be, or hot flashes with Ultimate Women's Wellness. And even I like to type in words when we do it ourselves at our offices with word processor, you can of course, and just type in words like miracle or lifesaver or love. And you'll find thousands and thousands and thousands of our reviews that use the words miracle or lifesaver or life-changing. So they're inspiring, the reviews. But for you, because we don't take out the bad reviews, 95% of them are good reviews, but there are bad reviews too. So you get to see all of them in all their glory. But it's a great objective way for you to assess the best products to take for you. And I'm going to try to do these online events more frequently. So you get a sense of, from the horse's mouth, so to speak, you get a sense of how we make our products, our commitment to making the best products, and to providing what I think is even more important than our products, information. Because if something I say could encourage you to eat healthier, to be a little bit more active, to make a more active role in terms of weight loss, to be more active in terms of your doctor and the way your doctor is managing your health, that you become a partner in that process, then no supplement I make can possibly compare to your being more actively involved in your health. So that's what I try to do. Next, another question about calcium citrate. Calcium citrate just is a form of calcium that's been heavily promoted. Calcium carbonate in a fine powder form is, as long as you don't deliver too much of it, is an excellent source of calcium because it has the highest yield of calcium at almost 40%. Calcium malate is an excellent form of calcium, and depending on the form that's used, even more soluble and bioavailable than calcium citrate. Calcium citrate is not a magical form of calcium. And then what I've said before, it's not so much the calcium that's critical in how we maintain the health of our bones and how we make sure we keep that calcium in our bones and not in our blood vessels. But that's all about vitamin K2, MK7. And of course, it's not the form of calcium that's critical when we take a calcium supplement, but we also must make sure that we have healthy vitamin D levels. Because without healthy vitamin D levels, we can't absorb calcium in a healthy fashion. So we need to focus on all three of these things, and maybe when you add to the equation magnesium, 4 of these things. So you need to be aware of adequate calcium intake, not more than 500 milligrams at a time, because more than that can't be absorbed. You want to make sure that it's in a fine powder form, which my calcium only comes in an ultrafine powder in a capsule. So it's already pre-digested, pre-available for you. We also deliver a bit of vitamin D with the calcium just in case you're not taking it separately. And then we now have our calcium intensive care and CalMag intensive care with K2 MK7. We're going to be increasing the potency of that. are vitamin K2, MK7, which is just a critical ingredient if you're supplementing calcium and vitamin D. That's 50 milligrams. We're going to be coming out with a 100 and a 200 milligram version in the very near future. Probably within 30 days, those will be available because I now take higher levels of K2, MK7. It's that important for bone health, and it's even that much more important for heart and cardiovascular health. So there's even some talk that the vitamin K2, MK7 taken at higher levels can help reverse potential calcification in arteries. There's just a recent study talking about that, and there's a lot of research and conjecture about that. Lincoln's laying in his little bed here, so he can't wait for me to finish. He expects that my life should revolve around playing with him, and he knows I'm talking about him right now, don't you, my little bud? Yeah. He's our little guys are our favorite little guys in the world. Huh. Yeah, I know you're a hungry man. We'll eat in a little while, I promise. So, all right, so I'm sure many of you have pets out there, and he's my best friend, and wherever I go, whatever exercise I do, I always do it. He's actually 9.5 years old now, so he's doing great. I make sure I put marine collagen peptides in his water. He gets, that was another question that I'll talk about. He gets, he's yawning, it means he's stressing. He gets glucosamine and chondroitin in his food at least once a day. He gets ultimate eye support about every other day. I put half a capsule of ultimate eye support in his food. We put a veggie paste in his food that's made from spinach, steamed spinach, kale. He's looking at me like, what are you doing? Spinach, kale, some peas to give it a nice texture, and then a little bit of, we'll then put blueberries in when we put it in the food processor, and that's, put a tablespoon of that in he has 2 meals a day, he put a tablespoon of that in, and his meals are primarily organic chicken or organic turkey, and that's it. And then we put the veggie paste in. And sometimes I put in a little bit of purple rice, because purple rice is rich in anthocyanins. So he eats well, he eats healthy, and I say the key to a healthy dog, just like a key to a healthy person, a healthy dog and a healthy person, they're thin, they're active, and they're hungry. So meaning that when you feed your dog should be hungry. Your dog should be hungry most of the day. We should actually be hungry most of the day. If you really want to be healthy, when you push yourself away from the dinner table, from the lunch table, whatever it might be, you should still be a little hungry. We should not go through life constantly full and satisfied. If we push ourselves away from the table every time being hungry, you can guarantee you'll be at your ideal weight. And so just like a dog should be thin at their ideal weight, they should be active, but with him not super active. He's now a little over 9 years old, so it's not like I'm throwing the ball for him so he could leap in the air and catch it in midair and twisting, turning, all the crazy things he did as a puppy. Just like I don't do the same sports workouts I did in high school and college. I'm still active every day, but I'm logically and sensibly active, and that's what I try to do with Link as well. That we're both getting older, so we're trying to do it gracefully. And the key to growing old and aging gracefully, especially when it comes to our brain and neurological function, it's all about being active. I mean, and the key to a healthy brain is also being at our ideal weight and eating well. We have to inherit good genetics, but a well-nourished brain requires healthy circulation. And when you exercise, especially when you do intense bouts of interval exercise, get clearance from your doctor first. That really flushes your whole body, including your brain. So it's, I think, part of the key and part of the reasons why that I'm not as young as I used to be, but I still have no problem sitting here for 3 hours at a time answering all your questions. In fact, I could do it for 4 or 5 hours at a time without any difficulties at all. I'm enjoying what I do. I get to talk about things that are important to me and hopefully important to you. And the key to my being able to do that and being able to continue doing what I love is taking care of myself. So again, a healthy dog is a thin, active dog that's hungry, and the same thing for a human being as well. So what else do I give Link in terms of supplement? I mentioned the marine collagen peptides. I solubilize a bit of it, and I wait for it to fully dissolve in a small cup of water. Then every other day I mix it with his water. And he gets the equivalent of about 1 scoop a day. Glucosamine chondroitin, he gets 1 capsule a day. Ultimate Eye, he gets a capsule pretty much every other day. And then I actually mix it in with the veggie paste. And then we'll also add sometimes the Friendly Flora. especially when we're up in the mountains, because he'll sometimes drink from a stream or something like that. So we make sure he has the friendly flora, because there could be whatever organisms in the stream and out in nature here. So we do that. So those are the key supplements that I give Link, and really focusing on the systems that we tend to notice aging in dogs. Their eyes, and our pets have an accelerated lifespan, and their joints. So the marine collagen peptides, glucosamine, chondroitin, and the marine collagen peptides with MSM. So that really supports the joints, the connective tissue, and also the veggie paste that we put in his food. Again, kale and spinach lightly steamed, with peas lightly steamed, and then we just put that in a food, like puree it in a food processor or the blender. And when we do that, we throw in some blueberries, because the blueberries has the anthocyanins that are healthy for his eyes. And then the ultimate eye we put in his food, because that has the lutein and zeaxanthin also of the spinach and kale, because I want to keep his vision healthy for as long as I possibly can. And so that's what we basically give Link. We don't try to over supplement him or anything. We just focus on things, the ultimate friendly flora for a healthy digestive system, just to keep him healthy. Occasionally I'll put cranberry in his food, because that's good for urinary tract health. It also has other protective compounds that are beneficial. So that's about it for Link. I've been often asked when I'm going to be doing supplements for dogs, supplements for pets. But again, as I said earlier, mine is a company that's not driven by business. It's kind of driven by our products. So we like to make great products. And the products we make could already be given to your pets. You just can open up the capsules. And at some point, we probably will get around to making our products available for pets and separately labeling them. Certainly, once we have the glucosamine and chondroitin in a fine powder form, not in a capsule, and we're going to have that available soon. Friendly Flora will be available soon. We'll probably do Ultimate Eye the same way. So you could then take a little tiny spoon of it and put it in your dog's food, whether it's the glucosamine chondroitin or whether it's the Ultimate Eye. No need to give our pets, usually, there's no fiber requirements for pets. They're essentially carnivores. So there's no need to be putting Friendly Flora or Fiber Mucil into your pet supplements. So let's keep going with the questions here. How long have I been talking for? I've been talking for over an hour. Wow. So Will is asking, is it okay to take vitamins with milk? The answer is yes, not a problem at all. I think some of us hear that you can't take some of our medications with milk because they might react with the calcium in the milk or things like that, but that's not a problem with supplements. Oh, Link, the wire from the microphone was in his face. Sorry, buddy. So, but that's not a problem taking our supplements with milk. So not a problem at all. Steve is asking, are we going to offer a fruit and veggie powder? I talked about this morning. We already make our fruitful antioxidant extracts and our cruciferous vegetable extracts. Those are ingredients that have standardized extract powders. Relatively speaking, I gave blueberry as an example, and say our broccoli extract as an example. They cost dozens of times more or even 100 times more than just a dried fruit or veggie powder. So those are single capsule standardized extracts focusing on specific beneficial compounds. What we'll probably do in the future is we'll do sort of a green powder that will have our what we will do. We'll take our green foods complex, which has spirulina, chlorella, barley grass, wheatgrass extracts, and we'll combine that with some of the ingredients from our cruciferous extracts, and then we'll combine it with some other concentrates of vegetables, not actual extracts, but concentrates. So it'll have a good veggie flavor, and you could mix it with a veggie smoothie. Then we'll do the same thing with fruits. We'll take our fruitful antioxidant extracts, we'll also add some cranberry in there, and then we'll combine it with some delicious natural fruit concentrate powders, and you can mix that with a smoothie or maybe mix it with water or things like that. What I might also do, the things that I've been mixing, that I've been testing with my teas, we might make a blueberry or a pomegranate or a tart cherry. It would be liquid. It would be like a syrup. And you just take a teaspoon of it and mix it with, it would be probably about 15, 20, 25 calories, and you would just mix it with your tea or water. And it gives it a slight hint of flavor, but it's an incredibly, incredibly potent source of antioxidants, protective compounds. So I'm doing that myself and loving it, and usually that's the first step to something potentially becoming a product. But we tend to have no rush to make new products. We make them patiently because we make them ourselves, and we want to make sure that when we make a product, we're doing a great job. So we don't rely on someone else to what most companies do. They have other people developing and making dozens of products for them, and then they bring them on TV or wherever, and that's just not how we go about doing it. We are the original developer and manufacturer, so for us it's a very, very patient process, and I hope that doesn't disturb too many of you when I keep saying it's coming soon, and hopefully instead you appreciate the fact that I take my job and responsibility of making products for you so seriously that I never want to make a mistake. I just want to do the right thing, and I want to make products that get wonderful reviews that you feel compelled to write, and I feel thrilled to read. That's my goal. So another question, about this new the story about vitamin D, that there's a current research or a recent research study saying that that we're taking too high levels of vitamin D and there's problems. Absolutely not. That was not a study, that was not a review of any populations or individuals or anything like that. All it was an article talking about that more people are now taking vitamin D. What's absolutely wonderful about vitamin D, there's a blood test. And it's a blood test that your doctor should be giving you every year when you get your blood tested, just like they know cholesterol or triglycerides, a whole range of other things. It's hard for me to think of something more important to know in terms of a blood test than knowing what your lifetime ongoing level of vitamin D is. That's how important it is for a lifetime health risk. So there is no indication that people, yes, we're taking higher levels of vitamin D, and thank goodness, because our own National Institute of Health, not a company that tends to recommend supplements or drugs, our own National Institute of Health referred to vitamin D deficiency as not just an epidemic, but a pandemic, meaning something that affects the entire world. And there's research study after research study that says if we could simply manage to get ourselves into even the low healthy range, not even the good healthy range, but the low healthy range, it would dramatically change disease risk in our society. So again, nothing at all in that recent article, it wasn't fake news, but it wasn't real science. So again, the internet is a wonderful thing because it makes so much information accessible to us, but we then have to become a real skeptic. And I encourage everyone to everything I say, to test it, to validate it. I try to make sure that everything I say is well supported, absolutely factual. Some of the best validation you could see in terms of how I avoid going into areas that aren't supported by science is over the years, there's a lot of products and a lot of ingredients that companies were selling, and there were billions of dollars of sales of things like raspberry ketone and green coffee bean extract, and I could go down the list, ephedra and ephedrine, over the years of all the sales of these products. Never for a second did I contemplate selling any of them. There wasn't any science. So again, as I said, it isn't business that drives what we do here, it's science. So, and certainly we have to do responsible business, and if you looked at my facility, you'd find the most sophisticated facility, the cleanest facility, a facility with zero carbon footprint. So we are very responsible on a business level, but what drives all our decision making is making ethical products that are supported by the science. So all of the products we make, if anything, their claims are horribly understated, and I apologize for that, but I would rather understate what my products can do. And I think that's why we get so many reviews, that people are so pleasantly surprised and they feel like they have to speak on my behalf because I tend to be so understated in terms of what the products could possibly do for you. So that's why, again, why the reviews are so important. And when it comes to vitamin D, the minimum we should be taking on a daily basis, anyone should be taking, is 1,000 IU. Vitamin D is not available in our diet. The only way you'll get it in our diet is from some fortified foods, whether it's some fortified dairy products. Most of us eat less dairy as we get older, but even then we don't get the levels of vitamin D we require. That's why you could read study after study after study that when you look at populations of older individuals, and by older I mean over the age of 35, if they're not supplementing vitamin D, somewhere between 80 to 100%, 80 to 100% are deficient or insufficient. So it's an alarming problem. And again, we don't have to worry about our consuming too high levels. Studies with levels as high as 10,000 IU of vitamin D did not indicate any health risk or problem, and no one's going to need to get anywhere near those levels. I take about 4,000 IU daily. As I said, you have to take at least 1,000 to get into the universe, the world of benefit. Typically, to get into the healthy range, you're going to have to be between 2,000 and 4,000. If you're overweight, if you're obese, you must take more, because vitamin D is going to be sequestered, going to be trapped by body fat, which means your available circulating levels of vitamin D are lower as a result of the additional body fat on your body. So just something you need to be aware of. I mentioned this earlier, that I always talk about two things we want to do as we move through our lives. Because we want to move through our lives at our ideal weight. We want to move through our lives with our ideal levels of vitamin D. Interestingly enough, if we're not at our ideal weight, if we're overweight, then our vitamin D levels go down. So interestingly enough, one of the consequences of our being overweight or obese is suppressing our vitamin D levels, which comes with it a series of health consequences. So that's why oftentimes when we think about overweight and obesity, it's not just cardiovascular risk. It might not be just risk to our joints, which overweight and obesity cause issues and harm to our joints over the course of our lifetime. It might not just be risk to our blood vessels and circulation to our brain, but also overweight and obesity increases our risk for most forms of cancer. So just hopefully what that does isn't discouraging, but it's another reason for us to focus on trying to accomplish our ideal weight. And the best way to do that, I often say that certainly exercise can be part of the equation, but exercise takes a distant back seat to what we consume. Changing what we eat, changing the way we eat, the things we eat, the composition, the quantity of what we eat, that's the key to weight loss. And it requires small changes consistently made. Big drastic changes I've seen over and over and over the course of my life. Those big drastic changes won't work for people long term. But those of you who have made those small changes, and if you're watching, you probably are nodding your head, who've made those small, gradual, patient changes, you've succeeded in weight loss that's lasted your lifetime. And that's the key. So a lot of questions about dog supplements and things like that. Trigeminal neuralgia. Trigeminal nerve is the nerve in our jaw. Will any of our products help the trigeminal nerve? No, and hemp oil, not aware if that's going to help that. No specific product I make is going to help the trigeminal nerve pain or any specific nerve pain. Again, one should go to the source or cause of that pain. To the extent alpha-lipoic acid or CoQ10 is supportive of healthy nerve function, they could be supportive, but I don't really see them making a difference in, say, something like trigeminal nerve pain. Hello, Andrew. I'm wondering if there are any plans in the near future to take the gelatin out of your capsules. I spoke about that at length earlier today. That we've already done that in some products, but not for the reason you'd think. Gelatin capsules, in my mind, are superior to vegetable capsules, far superior. We use the finest gelatin in the world, the purest gelatin in the world. On some of our products like berberine and others, our garlic product, our Spice of Life product, we use the vegetable capsule because it delays release. It doesn't dissolve as well. It doesn't make the ingredients as available as quickly as gelatin. Gelatin is superior in that regard. But sometimes the inferior nature of that HPMC capsule is better. So we use them for those. But they're both great capsules now. The HPMC is better than it's ever been. But vegetable capsules aren't what you think when you think of, I've said earlier, amber waves of grain and being derived from broccoli or cauliflower or something. They're derived from wood pulp. They're derived from the same source that we make paper out of, the same paper you're looking at here. And all it is something called hydroxypropylmethylcellulose. So it's hydroxylated, propylated, methylated cellulose. And that's those capsules. They're crystal clear and they behave well, so they're good capsules. A long time ago they didn't behave well, so they behave well, but again, it's something that will go to gradually. What I mentioned earlier today as well, that a large size, one of my ultra economy sizes, say 1,000 capsules, 750 capsules, 1,200 capsules, the difference between gelatin and the HPMC capsule would be as much as, say, $15 to $20 when you purchase the product. So by using the best gelatin in the world, when you buy your, say, your Fibromucil, when you get, say, your Cholesterol or your Healthy Hair, Skin, and Nails, when you're taking those, when you're buying those larger quantities, you're saving a great deal. And it's an even bigger price difference in terms of the smaller sizes, at least on a per capsule basis. So again, it's just a decision. I continue to offer a superior product at a lower price using the gelatin capsules. And again, you could simply open the capsule if you're a vegetarian. I prefer the efficacy and the purity of the gelatin capsule. So, and of course, our HPMC capsules that we use for berberine and spice of life and garlic and a few other products, it's the finest HPMC capsule by far in the world, but I still think the gelatin capsule has a slight advantage, certainly in terms of availability. And again, there are questions about expiration date. Our products after the expiration date don't go bad. They won't be harmful. Just certain products will gradually start to lose potency over time. So the only thing that will happen after a product, say if it was my vitamin C, and our products will have expiration dates between 1 year and 3 years after we make them. Even products that would be fine 5 years later, we never put an expiration date more than 3 years. So even with a product like our Cal Mag, which would be fine 4 years later, we just have a 3-year expiration. So you don't have to worry about it being harmful. It just might have lost a little bit of its potency. Say the vitamin C at 4 years might be 80% potency instead of 100% potency. That would be the only difference. Well, will I make a senior vitamin? A senior vitamin is kind of a fallacy. Seniors have really no different requirements, especially we make our products, and maybe if you're making a product like Centrum or One A Day, and the products have such a minimal levels of nutrients in them, and if you believe that a senior has an enhanced nutrient requirement, so then you increase above the minimal. But our Essential One, our most basic multivitamin, has higher levels of all key nutrients. It has nutrients like lutein, zeaxanthin, critical for the health, lutein, lycopene, and zeaxanthin, critical for prostate tissue, for ovarian tissue, for breast tissue, for eye tissue. These carotenoids, especially in seniors and the elderly, they're not even found in the senior formulas of these leading brands. So our most basic multivitamin offers higher levels of nutrients than the specialized needs products. But those specialized needs products are just a response to their basic product being so basic, and the fact that it's marketing. The differences are insignificant, and the differences still don't even come to the same level of potency as my most basic multivitamin. But although my Essential One, it's probably being very humble when I call it basic, because it has 2,000 IU of vitamin D. It's like a separate high potency vitamin D, 250 micrograms of the most serious, advanced, orally absorbable B12 in the world, our natural coenzyme B12 that's protected for absorption. So it might be our most basic multivitamin, but it isn't basic at all. But it's far superior to even the most specialized of the leading multivitamins you'll find in grocery stores or pharmacies. So the senior and then the question about my different running shoes, what I'm wearing a Fitbit. So if calcium supplements are needed after a certain age, not necessarily after a certain age, I think especially for women throughout life, and I'm not someone who's on the 1,000 to 1,500 milligram kind of world of calcium. If your doctor recommends that, follow your doctor's recommendations, but take 500 milligrams at one time. But again, the vitamin D, the vitamin K2, MK7 are far more critical than the amount almost in form of calcium. You can't absorb calcium efficiently without the vitamin D. You can't make sure it gets where it needs to be and stays there and is used there and it doesn't go where it shouldn't go unless you're getting the vitamin K2, MK7. But I've already got so many questions here. It's like it's out of control. So I appreciate all the questions. We have thousands and thousands of questions, and I'm doing my best to answer as many of them as I can. And I guess this underscores, let us know. If you like this, you can call my company, let them know. We'll try to do this again, because for me, this is fun. I spend my life reading the science, reading the literature, so it's fun for me to share as much as I can. I talked about earlier the B12 that someone had talked about, that they had too high levels of B12 on a blood test, and that over the last, say, 20 or 30 years, we've dramatically reduced the levels of B12 in all my formulas because our B12 has gotten better and better, more and more active, and because more of you take more formulas. So today you probably, even if you take multiple formulas, get a fraction of the B12 that you would have gotten 15 or 20 years ago, but it's more beneficial, it's more active, and so, but it's important. We have something called the vitamin calculator, and on our website, so you could put in the formulas you're taking, and it will tell you the levels of B12 you're getting, of vitamin D you're getting, because those are the nutrients that are so critical and are so highly deficient in our society that we make sure are available in a lot of individual products, just in case that's the only product someone takes. We want to make sure that that person is getting the vitamin D or the vitamin B12, even if that's the only product they're taking. So you could, and all that happens is perhaps, as this person, Mildred, had mentioned, they stopped taking the vitamin D3 5000 they were taking because they noticed they were getting vitamin D in other formulas. So all we do is make things even more affordable. So just make sure you just pay attention on certain key nutrients, and it's never going to be dangerous or risky, but just make sure you pay attention, and all it will do is it will reduce your expenditure on vitamins and perhaps or enable you to try something new. But either way, it's not dangerous, it's not problematic. Question, the omega-3 capsules, the 750, is the large 750 omega-3 coming back? That's a special size that we just do once a year. So that will be back. We just did the TS in April, the Today Special in April. So that's going to be back in April or May of 2018. That just, every time I say the year, it sounds like it's from a science fiction book. So that's going to be back next year. And but in the meantime, we still, during the visit in July, because omega-3s are an important part of beauty, having radiant, healthy hair and skin, we'll have it at special purchase pricing. Not as great as our Today Special pricing that we have in April, but if you get, say, a 360 capsule supply, that'll take you at 1 or 2 capsules daily. That'll take you to next April, and you'll be fine to take advantage of the Today Special then. And of course, there's no omega-3 products in the world like our omega-3 products. Questions asking about our meal replacements, whether a secure soy protein or secure whey protein. We now have a secure with marine collagen peptides as the protein source. So asking, on those products we use ACE-K and sucralose. We happen to use insignificant levels, literally 50 milligrams of each, and I've tried to do my best to eliminate using those sweeteners entirely. Most products like soft drinks use hundreds and hundreds of milligrams in each soft drink. So we use really very, very low trace levels. And we're doing our best to redesign those products without them, to also do a version of those products with no sugar at all, no carbohydrate at all, even though it has only 7 grams of total carbohydrate in it. And just continue to try and improve them over time. Unfortunately, when it comes to a diet product, a weight loss product, flavor is so critical in a meal replacement, or people won't use it because they really crave something that makes them feel good about the meal that they're replacing. So, and this is something that I've learned over 30 years of making a meal replacement, and our Secure has been, of any formula we've had, the most successful we've ever made. It's the lowest calorie out there, best tasting. We've learned that we have to make our biggest investment in flavor, or the product just is going to, again, not be satisfying. So you can make statistically the best meal replacement in the world, but from the number standpoint, calories and nutrients, and you won't find better forms of nutrients than ours. But if you don't make that investment in flavor and in sweetness, it's just not going to be it's not going to be a successful product in terms of helping people achieve their weight loss goals. So, have I thought about making glutathione supplements? Yes, that's another one that could be coming in the future. So, the trouble with glutathione is going to be absorption, and recently some glutathione out there, glutathione along with superoxide dismutase, SOD, those are the two most powerful endogenous antioxidants. A lot of people like to take glutathione, so a lot of the things we offer support internal and endogenous synthesis of glutathione, like alpha lipoic acid, like coenzyme Q10. So, but glutathione on its own, I suspect that'll be a supplement you might see in the next 6 months. Again, my apologies that we tend to be very patient about bringing out new products because we're not chasing after sales. We're just chasing after perfection. And making a perfect supplement is hard work. So, and we focus more on the products we make than making new products. So, but it will be coming in the future. It is on the radar. What else? Spicy foods. The doctor, a lot of folks with GERD have been told to stay away from spicy foods, and for good reason. So if you have GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, a lot of times folks will take digestive enzymes. We have our Digest-Assure, Friendly Flora, things like that. But when it comes to GERD, a lot of folks have to avoid spicy products, things like garlic, things that are spicy, whether it's going to be spice like peppers or things like that, can be irritating. One of the most important things with GERD is eat small portions. Don't eat large portions. Coffee needs to be avoided. Alcohol needs to be avoided. Large meals at the end of the day need to be avoided. There are a lot of things that one can do to reduce the likelihood of experiencing GERD. Alcohol, coffee, spicy foods kind of at the top of the list. Tomatoes, tomato sauce, one of the things, again, to be avoided. But the question was turmeric. And certainly my experience with turmeric is that, because I try to avoid really spicy foods, but my experience with turmeric is it's not irritating. And also what I've heard from others, even some folks with GERD have said that it tends to be soothing. Turmeric and ginger both tend to be soothing. So, and these are going to be, right now, we're going to be switching our ginger over, I think we already did, to the HPC capsule, the vegetable-based capsule, because we like to slow down its release a little bit because it's a spice. But our turmeric tends to not be a harsh, hot spice. And Muriel, the chicken she made today, was sort of a rosemary lemon chicken with turmeric, rubbed with turmeric. My fingers were a little yellow after, because I was eating it with my fingers. And Lincoln was too, but his fingers weren't yellow. But I would say with turmeric, it should be fine with GERD, but I would just test it. And like anything, it's best to take your supplements with food, because our supplements are concentrated, but although they can be taken on an empty stomach, I always like to take them better with food. They're better absorbed. And unlike other companies that they tell you to take their tablets with food because those tablets can be so difficult on your stomach. I certainly have that experience. That's why I've never made tablets. In 38 years of making supplements, I've never made tablets. We only have ultrafine powders and capsules. Just common sense. All the raw materials arrive as powders. Why would someone want to turn them into a rock-hard tablet that you have to struggle to break down? Instead, it makes much more sense to leave them in their native, natural state, ultrafine powder, ultra-soluble powder, and just put it in a capsule that disappears within moments and makes them all available. So, recommendation of vitamins for immune disorders or autoimmune disorders. I talked about this earlier. Best thing to do is to try to eat the healthiest, cleanest, least provocative diet possible. Muriel and I were going to talk about doing, and we've talked about this a lot, about doing sort of a less provocative cookbook, an anti-inflammatory cookbook, so to speak. Foods that are just not going to be provocative to our body and tend to be more kind and nurturing to our body. As far as supplements, as I've always said, things like coenzyme Q10, alpha lipoic acid, making sure you're just getting foundational nutrients in a multivitamin, good levels of vitamin D are absolutely essential. The 5 favorites product, it's something I don't talk about very often. My 5 favorites product, which has our coenzyme Q10, alpha lipoic acid, has resveratrol, has EGCG in it, also has vitamin B12 in it. But it's a fun little way to affordably get a series of very, very important, some of my favorite protective compounds. Bariatric surgery, because of anatomy changes with gastric bypass patients, most of the time are recommended to take a double dose. This is from Deb. Does this apply to your supplements as well? Have you considered a line of bariatric supplements? Very, very funny or a question or interesting. When I first started making products, the first kind of medical organization that supported us was an organization in California that was dealing, this is 30 plus years ago, dealing with bariatric surgery patients, which it wasn't as big a thing back then as it is now. And the reason why, because all our products were in these ultrafine powder capsules. And people didn't have to take double doses. They could simply take their products and know that even with the changes to their digestive system that would seem to reduce the opportunity, not seem, that would reduce the opportunity and availability of those nutrients to digest and be absorbed, it didn't matter because our materials were immediately available in an ultra powder form. So yes, it's a very interesting question whether did we ever think of making a line of supplements that are specifically for bariatric patients. We thought about that, but then we thought, well, they already are. They're good for everyone, and they're certainly exceptionally good for someone with the challenges that follow bariatric surgery. Because imagine the changes to the digestive and absorptive part of your digestive system. Imagine introducing a rock-hard tablet into that. It's an urgent enough process to absorb nutrients with a normal, healthy digestive system. And after bariatric surgery, and there's different types of bariatric surgery, where you would essentially shorten the opportunity for digestion and absorption, it makes a product like ours absolutely critical. So, cataracts and gallbladder. They don't have anything to do with one another, but let's see what the question is. Very interesting ultimate eye product. If a person has a start of cataracts, if that product will help slow down or reverse it. A friend of mine who was probably one of the most renowned, he just recently passed away in his 90s, one of the most renowned ophthalmologists, ophthalmologic surgeons, had made a funny comment to me when talking about cataracts and things like that. He said, we all start working on cataracts the minute we open our eyes as infants. So at some time in our life, if we live long enough, we're dealing with them. Whether taking a dietary supplement is going to reduce the likelihood or reverse cataracts, I don't think they could reverse cataracts. I don't think that's possible. Whether it could, over the course of our lifetime, if we have a diet higher in protective compounds like vitamin C, vitamin E, lutein, and zeaxanthin, whether a long-term clinical study would show that it slows down cataracts, that's a very interesting question. There have been epidemiologic studies that have shown that individuals that have a diet that's richer in those protective compounds do have a decreased risk and decreased severity of cataracts. The real question with those protective compounds is less about the lens of our eye and cataracts. That's something that we should eat the best we can, but it's really about the retina of our eye, the macular region of the retina of our eye. That's where those protective compounds, vitamin C, we often forget about it, we take it for granted, vitamin E, lutein, zeaxanthin, astaxanthin, the optical pigments are lutein and zeaxanthin. They are part of the visual function of the eye, and they're also part of the protection of the eye. So absolutely critical. Green leafy vegetables are their best source. Our Ultimate Eye is also a wonderful, again, natural source of them as well. So, again, I'd love to say that taking my Ultimate Eye is going to reduce the risk of cataracts and reduce the severity of cataracts and slow cataracts. But that really hasn't been shown in clinical studies yet, that a supplement can do that. But those nutrients as part of a healthy diet over the course of a lifetime, that has been shown to be beneficial in terms of cataracts, and certainly beneficial in terms of the macular region and the retina of our eye. Had our gallbladder removed 3 months ago because of a big mean stone. Wondering if there is a product that thinks it's having help with that. After gallbladder surgery, often digestion can be a little bit problematic. Digest Assure is always a great idea, making sure that you're managing your levels of healthy flora and being focused on eating a healthier diet, because its digestion can often be a little bit more challenging after gallbladder removal. But digestive enzymes in Digest Assure, I've read in dozens and dozens and dozens of reviews, have been highly beneficial. Chai tea. I love chai tea, but it is made with black tea. You make great tea. Would you consider, like we make our Earl Grey tea out of green tea, and it's the best tasting Earl Grey tea you'll find, even though it's not made with black tea. And that was something I made for Muriel, because she always drank Earl Grey tea, and I always told her that it wasn't the healthiest of tea with green tea. Black tea isn't terrible, it's just not as healthy as green tea. And the answer is another one. I wrote a note on this morning. We're working on it. I think I wrote that a dozen times here, and I've probably said it a dozen times. But we're working on that as well. We're working on a great matcha tea. We'll come out with a delicious chai tea that won't be too sweet, that'll be wonderfully delicious and spicy, but made with green tea, not black tea. And we could do it with our green tea because we use special green tea that doesn't get bitter. The problem with typical green tea and chai tea or Earl Grey tea is the green tea gets bitter, but because ours doesn't, you just get the benefits of green tea and you get a delicious chai or a delicious Earl Grey. So it will be coming. Sometimes when bending that last question was from Elaine. Oh no, the last question was from Marty about the teas. Elaine had a question, what tips can you give me for lowering cholesterol? What tips can you give me for lowering blood pressure? I've talked about that probably a dozen times already today. Cholesterol, obviously our Cholesticare, our Choco Nouveau won't be back until October. Has the same ingredient as Cholesticare, but 1 capsule with Cholesticare with each meal, maybe 2 with a very large meal. Along with that, if you took a capsule or 2 with Fibromucil, 15 to 20% reductions in total and LDL cholesterol can be expected. Berberine helps support healthy blood sugar levels, also can help with those lipid levels as well. Just 1 capsule with each meal. You could look up both of those products. Lowering blood pressure, all the standard measures, watching what you eat, if you're sodium sensitive, watching your sodium intake, lowering your body fat level. There's no specific supplement yet. Unlike with blood sugar, we could talk about supporting healthy blood sugar levels with our cinnamon extract and with our berberine extract. For cholesterol, we could talk about Cholesticare, we could talk about Fibromucil, we could talk about berberine. The best I could do with blood pressure is just CoQ10, omega-3s. Our products are unique ingredients, uniquely available, but they could support healthy blood sugar level, blood pressure levels, but they're not going to be something that you're going to look at and say, well, that's lowering my blood pressure level. That's still, you need to make those lifestyle changes and take the medications your doctor recommends. We're hoping that in the future we're going to evaluate things like olive leaf extract, that it becomes an even more supportive tool even than omega-3 and CoQ10 in terms of supporting healthy blood pressure levels. But that's something we're evaluating. And recently I just sent some emails to my product development department within the last several days inquiring about just that because I had noticed some recent published studies on that. So that will be coming. That was from Elaine. Annette is asking, sometimes when bending my fingers, they will not straighten out. I have to unbend them, and with my other hand, I read that this can be caused from collagen deposits. I'm not aware that it's caused by collagen deposits. I was taking your marine collagen every day, but stopped when I read that. Any suggestions? I would imagine that could be caused by, it could be neurology. Sometimes there are things that could happen with our toes, and not just the fingers in our hand, or it could be neurologically even driven in terms of our connective tissue and our musculature, where certain muscles become tighter and shorter than the opposing muscles, and our hands can become more, it's difficult to straighten out our fingers. I'm sure there's physical therapy and activities that could be done for that. You should definitely talk to your doctor about that. But I don't believe it has anything to do with collagen deposits at all. So I wouldn't worry about the marine collagen peptides having caused that kind of a property at all. If anything, I would think it would tend to promote healthier collagen function, healthier connective tissue function, and muscle function. So, but that's something I would just talk to someone's doctor about. Tom is asking, do you have to detox your body when using vitamins, and do you have detox vitamins? Because of the nature of our products, there's no detoxing involved. I don't make vitamins that are a parallel to drugs. I make vitamins that simply offer ingredients that we would normally have hoped to have gotten adequate levels from a healthy diet. But because of the nature of food or the nature of our diet are no longer available. So everything that you look at when you look at my product line, you're looking at a dietary supplement. You look at my fish oil product. You're looking at a concentrate of the healthiest omega-3s found in fish, where we take the balance as you'd find it in fish, which is predominantly DHA, not EPA. Other products flip it around. So we follow the natural blueprint in omega-3s, whether we look at my fruitful antioxidant extracts product. These are concentrated extracts of the healthiest fruits, concentrated for the most important protective compounds. Cruciferous extracts, the same thing. Vitamin D. We take the natural, most important form of vitamin D that isn't available in our diet. We deliver it to you. So we're not out there making products that are drugs, even with berberine. Berberine is simply an extract, a concentrated extract of the root of a plant, And that berberine extract is just like turmeric extract, is a spice that's been used for centuries. Berberine has been used for centuries. Cinnamon has been used for centuries. So all we're taking is these natural plants that are foods or spices. We're concentrating them and delivering them to you as a nutritional or dietary supplement to your diet. That's it. So in terms of supplementing your diet, you don't have to detoxify. Many people look at my products like our turmeric and things like that, like our liver antioxidants extract, like our fiber mucil, as an opportunity to detoxify from the things they put in their body otherwise. The fiber helps to cleanse the digestive system. Liver antioxidant extracts helps to detoxify and cleanse our liver, support its wonderful regenerative properties. So I hope that answered that question for Tom. From Peggy, how long after the expiration date? Our products don't become dangerous after the expiration date. Most of them, in fact, are still fine at the same potency after expiration date. The only issue will be certain products begin to lose potency after their expiration date. And that is the intent of the expiration date. And some of our products have 12-month expiration dates. Some are 18 or 24 or 30 or 36. Never longer than 36, even if the product would still be fine after 36. We just draw the cutoff at 36. What's also wonderful, because we make our products so frequently, when I'm, say, doing a Today Special at HSN, the products were generally made a matter of weeks or days within that Today Special. When you're getting something from HSN, that product in general arrived at HSN's warehouse within days, weeks, or at most probably 4 to 6 weeks at most. And when we make the product, we ship the product. So we're not maintaining large warehouses of material on my end at all. So all of the things we're getting, unlike when you might buy products from stores, who knows how long it's been in a distribution chain, in a warehouse, or in a retail store. You don't have to worry about that with us. And of course, our expiration dates, all of our products come with a specific expiration date for that product. And after that expiration date, they don't go bad. So high blood pressure, again, I would say there were at least 50 questions here for high blood pressure, almost the same for high blood sugar. So no specific product for high blood pressure, just on this page 4 or 5 times. But again, CoQ10, omega-3s are the perfect tools to support you with what you might be doing in terms of diet, lifestyle, medications from your doctor for high blood pressure. We might have some additional tools coming in the future. I'll keep you posted. Liver function, elevated liver enzymes, started taking supplements, raw garlic. I'm not sure how important and beneficial raw garlic is for liver function. It certainly isn't good for our friendships, but but I would say that in terms of liver function, and again, you could read the reviews on either PC granules, PC capsules, or the reviews on liver antioxidant extracts, you'll find dozens of reviews that speak about elevated liver enzymes and other issues and how this product helped bring them into line. And again, not a drug, not a medicine, not curing or treating anything, but they're well-established ingredients in terms of the PC granules, the phosphatidylcholine granules, containing phosphatidylcholine, phosphatidylainositol, phosphatidylethanolamine, and also phosphatidylserine, great for stress. And the PC capsules, containing all 3 of those, doesn't contain the phosphatidylserine though. Those are the structural ingredients for our liver. And again, as powerful as our liver is in terms of repairing, regenerating, you need to make sure we have the structural ingredients, and they are not abundant in our diet at all, which is why those ingredients have such significant benefits when they're used, such apparent benefits when used. And then the liver antioxidant extracts, very, very powerful in terms of delivering to our liver and supporting our liver's remarkable capacity to regenerate and to cleanse itself, detoxify itself. There's a whole bunch of, there's a funny question here, I just noticed this one. Phyllis is asking about serrapeptase enzyme. What is my thoughts on serrapeptase enzyme and the side effects? I think serrapeptase, I remember reading about serrapeptase probably 20, 30 years ago, and it was being promoted heavily for digestion. And it's been a while since I looked at these things. The notes I wrote down this morning, I could be wrong. But I believe serrapeptase, I believe it's the enzyme that the silkworm secretes to dissolve the cocoon that it's in. So I could be wrong, but I believe that's what it is. And it's just funny how supplement companies come up with these things. So I haven't read any reliable science. Oh, but now the real reason serapeptase is offered is, I think the last things I read about it was for joint health, that somehow it's going to help with joint health. But like most enzymes, they're really beneficial when we take them for digestion, because they help with digestion in our digestive system. But the enzyme itself, being a protein, gets digested. So the only thing you're going to be absorbing if you take an enzyme is you'll be absorbing its constituent amino acids. So, and an enzyme itself is a rather large protein, and we can't absorb large proteins. At best, we could absorb small peptides. So we can't really absorb large enzymes. So from what I recall with serapeptide or serapeptase, it's not well absorbed. If it can't be absorbed, it's not obviously getting to your joints, magically delivering benefits if it can't be absorbed. So, so I've seen that question before, and I don't think I've ever responded to it before. But it's something that, you know, being in this industry for way too long, 38 years, I guess I've seen almost everything when it comes to supplements. And that is one I wouldn't think investing in really is a worthwhile pursuit. And you see all sorts of crazy things on the internet where they could create websites that make it look like the most incredible, miraculous miracle supplement known to mankind. And they'll falsify reviews and do things like that, which they do all the time online. Which, by the way, at my company, hsn.com, the reviews are all real reviews. You can't review a product unless you purchase the product, and all of the reviews are independent, and we don't pull off the bad reviews. So it's something that we maintain very rigorously, because the degree to which we maintain this rigorously is the degree to which you can trust all that we make. And so we're very cautious about letting that just exist on its own. And letting it be a forum for folks to share their experiences with us, so we get to learn better how to make your products, and with you, so you get to learn the experience of others who've gone before you using that product. So my opinion about matcha tea, I think matcha tea is great. I think it's a wonderful source of the protective compounds that make green tea so wonderful. So we'll be coming out with a matcha tea, and Muriel will have, this will be Muriel's baby. She'll, because she's the one who likes to do her little ceremonial matcha tea mixing where you blend it up and things like that. So that will be coming in the future. And then a question about, this is question about the difference between cocoa powder and cacao powder. Technically, they should both be the same, but I think what ends up happening is cacao powder tends to be the pure powder from the cacao bean. A cocoa powder often is something where sugar has been added or other flavoring ingredients has been added. So you need to read the ingredient panel carefully to know exactly what you're getting. Then I was asked, why don't we just make our Choco Nouveau in the summer with cacao powder and mixing in the plant sterols to lower cholesterol. And the reason why we can't is because the magic of Choco Nouveau is that we were able to start with a deep, dark, rich chocolate, which would otherwise be pretty brittle and pretty hard and dry. That's what dark chocolate is all about, because it's basically an extract of the cacao bean. But what Choco Nouveau does is we use that plant sterol ester. That plant sterol ester, that looks and behaves just like fat. Why is milk chocolate so creamy? It's milk fat. Why is our dark chocolate so creamy, just like milk chocolate? It has the deep, dark, rich taste of dark chocolate. I shouldn't talk about this so much. I'm probably making people mad who can't buy it right now. They already were mad reading the reviews, but we can't have Choco Nouveau until October. But to make a long story short, we can't take the cacao powder and make a Choco Nouveau, because the magic of Choco Nouveau was how beautifully the plant sterol esters mixed with the natural components in the cocoa bean. And when you melt the cocoa bean and the natural fats in the cocoa bean mixed perfectly with the plant sterol esters, and the result was Choco Nouveau. So that won't be back till October. Another question. Oh, I gave up eating bread years ago due to the research by Dr. Davis, the Wheat Belly books, that humans were not designed to eat grains. But what is Andrew's opinion on eating bread that is made from organic sprouted grains? Okay, or best to avoid grains all possible. I tend to just as I tend to be not political, that I talked about this before, that over the course of my life I've been Republican, I've been Democrat. Today I hold reviews that would make someone think I'm a Democrat or make someone think I'm a Republican. So, so I'm an independent. And when it comes to diet and things like that, I tend to be a staunch advocate for the best interests of our body. So I often say to folks to listen to their body. Obviously, if someone has celiac disease or gluten sensitivity, they should stay far away from wheat. But when you even read studies that are performed in Europe where they use more heirloom varieties of wheat that have not been modified over the last hundreds or thousands of years. And I'm not talking about GMO, but I'm talking about selectively inbreeding wheat and selecting it for even higher levels of gluten and other compounds. So when they use those and they do research studies using these heirloom varieties of wheat, they find a far lower incidence of the leaky gut syndrome or things, gluten sensitivity and celiac and provocative issues like that. I'm someone who tends to eat very little bread. If I eat bread, I tend to eat it more when I'm in Europe than when I'm in the US. It's kind of like cheese. I don't tend to eat cheese much at all, but when in Europe, I have to make an exception because the cheese in France is ridiculous, and Muriel's family always manages to have wonderful cheese around, so and also wonderful bread around. So I'm someone who I look at the way grains have been raised in this country, and I think we're a little bit we're drowning in wheat. We consume too much wheat, so I tend to avoid it. And I'm not religious about it. I just tend to avoid things that are carbohydrate-rich foods anyhow. And I look at bread and I look at a white potato and white rice as being just sort of carbohydrate-rich foods that get quickly processed into sugar and that aren't necessarily abundantly rich in nutrients. But when you start looking at sprouted grains and alternative grains, I start having a little bit of a different opinion. So again, I tend to not be religious about these things. I say we should all do what works best for us and makes us feel healthy and feel well. Some people feel healthy and well on a very protein-rich diet. Some people feel well on a paleo diet. The aspects that I like about a paleo diet is the avoidance of processed food. Once you start eliminating processed food, that's a great thing. I tend to not like a diet that's dominated by animal protein. So I think it's more healthy to have a diet that's rich in not necessarily whole grains, but legumes, nuts, seeds, and for me, if I'm going to have animal protein, it's fish, chicken, turkey, vegetables and fruits. Even though fruits contain sugar, I love eating strawberries, blueberries, blackberries. Fruit is delicious. Fruit is wonderful. If you're a fruitarian, even though it contains sugar, and those are people who just eat fruit, you're not going to be overweight, even though it contains sugar. And that's because fruit is so inherently not not calorie dense. It's very nutrient dense, but not calorie dense. Fruits and vegetables are rich in fiber, not rich in calories. I love things like avocado, one of my favorite foods. We'll make our own guacamole at home all the time, and that's like a delicious snack food for me. What Muriel and I often eat, we have these little mini spoons that she uses for little mini serving spoons when she makes little appetizers at the house. If I'm really hungry before I go for a run or something like that, I'll take pecan butter. That's just, it's unprocessed, it's just pecan butter or almond butter or cashew butter, and I just take a little tiny spoon of that and with my tea with a little bit of the fruit extract in it, and that's my quick little fuel up before I go run. And a little bit of pecan or walnut butter in your mouth. It's rich texture. It feels like you consumed something very meaningful when you do so. But I talked a lot about the way I eat earlier, and the way I eat isn't the way everybody should eat. I get troubled by folks who they say their way is the only way. And the best way for every person is the way that leads them down to their best path or their best life. So I'm not so, what is the word, hubris that I think that my way is the only way and the way I eat is the way everyone should eat. That if you're a vegan and it makes you feel good, that's wonderful. Hopefully, as being a vegan, you might avoid eating processed foods. Because I know vegetarians that even though they're vegetarians and eat no animal products, they eat an abundance of processed foods. that's not necessarily a healthy diet. So we have to make good choices. That's avoiding processed foods, that's avoiding usually the byproducts of agribusiness. And what I also try to do, because it's environmentally sound, I try to eat locally. We have farmers markets around us all over now, so it's very easy at the grocery stores, sometimes telling you where things were grown, to get foods that are locally grown. When it comes to fruits, when I make smoothies, almost always with frozen fruits. That a lot of times we think that frozen fruits or vegetables are deficient in nutrients, that we're going to be selling ourselves short. Actually, quite the contrary. There's a lot of research that shows that because they freeze those fruits at their peak of ripeness right after they were picked, and they wouldn't have gotten you through the normal distribution channel at a grocery store as quickly, that if you had gotten them in a grocery store fresh, they wouldn't have been as rich in nutrients as you got them frozen. And I also find with especially with berries, with blueberries and raspberries, they go bad so quickly that when I use them frozen, and we constantly make pea soup at the house, we constantly cook up edamame, soybeans at the house, that the frozen organic vegetables, they're affordable, they're accessible, there's no waste associated with them because you only use what you need, you keep the rest frozen. So it's a really great way to make quick smoothies at home. Literally, I will reach in and I'll throw a handful of blueberries, a handful of blackberries, a handful of raspberries, cherries, whatever it might be, and just put in a little bit of water, some ultimate whey protein, some marine collagen peptide, and I just have this incredible fruit smoothie. So these are easy to do at home. You can do the same thing with vegetables. You can make vegetable soup easily with peas and things like that, or different vegetables in the blender and just heat it up thereafter. And Muriel has a lot of that in her cookbook. So, well, I've been going for 2 hours. It's 8 o'clock. So there were some questions before I answered earlier. Will I be making liquid nutrient supplements for those who really don't taking a pill? Technically, we don't make pills. Pills are typically tablets. We only make powders and capsules, which is the native form of that ingredient. The minute you make a liquid, most nutrients don't taste great. So the minute you make a liquid, you generally have to add flavoring components. So you start undermining the purity of the product. And usually the nutrient ends up becoming the minority of the formula. Also, most nutrients are not soluble in water at normal temperatures and things like that. So then you have to add agents to increase solubility, or you have to compromise the form of the nutrient to get it to be soluble. So liquid supplements usually deliver very little nutrition, and they deliver an abundance of things that you don't want. So the best way, the purest way, the way I've been making supplements for 38 years is we don't put additives in those capsules. Typical vitamin supplements are anywhere from 25 to even 95% additives. So there's no binders, there's no fillers, there's no lubricants, there's no flowing agents, nothing. It's very hard to make products as we do, but it's the only way to make 100% pure products, and that's what I've always been dedicated to doing for 38 years. And also making them without carbon footprint. So we make them in Henderson, Nevada, so there's no carbon footprint at all. I think Link is trying to tell me it's time to wrap things up here. So I was asked if I'm going to making a tart cherry supplement for arthritis. I don't plan on doing that specifically. What we might do, where the research is just as I was saying with my teas, I add like a little teaspoon of these ultra concentrates of, what I've been playing with is a wild blueberry concentrate, a pomegranate concentrate, and a tart cherry concentrate, and they're literally like syrup. They're probably 10, 20 times concentrate of a juice. And you just put a tiny teaspoon in and you end up with it looks like black tea. So so that might be something we do. But I'm not sure if a cherry extract in a capsule has some of the health benefits that have been associated with those tart cherry extracts. So what else? Again, wow, this is an interesting one. I have Rosai-Dorfman disease. I haven't read about that for probably 30 plus years. The location is on my lower leg. It has been discolored, biopsies, things like that. Nothing seems to help steroids. That's something it's back in school days. I think that's a problem and an enlargement of lymph nodes or something like that. So obviously nutritional supplements, you have to try to find a great expert, do some research online to see if there's someone who specializes in it. It's not something I believe that's quite common, although I'm sure there are thousands of people who suffer from it. But I don't believe even our circulation vein support for healthy legs would make a significant difference in that. But so I wish there was something I could say that could help. It's not something I've thought about or heard about in terms of supplements, or even thought about probably for 30 plus years, or come across for 30 plus years. The Candida yeast that we all have Candida yeast as part of the normal population of flora in our bodies. The question is when that population is imbalanced and overgrown. And the best thing we could do at that point is to try to do things in terms of lifestyle, because often there's challenges, whether it's things as simple as antibiotic consumption or overconsumption of alcohol or whatnot, or changes in hormones that are absolutely benign things that could change levels of Candida yeast. And floral supplements and physicians are usually adept at treating any imbalance in that regard. But it is normal to have Candida yeast. It's just, it should be maintained in its proper balance. I talked a great deal about, dog supplements. We've talked about, I'm 54 years old, have anxiety going through menopause, can't sleep at night, and any suggestions what your products might help? Well, first of all, I think we underestimate how powerful, I think most women wouldn't be guilty of this, but I think a lot of men underestimate how neurologically active and powerful hormones are. That when women go through perimenopause and menopause, and it's of course a unique experience for each woman, but it could profoundly change their life, and it's not unusual for women to be suffering from anxiety at that time as they're going through perimenopause and menopause. Ultimate women's wellness, to the extent it supports healthy hormone levels and helps with hot flashes, night sweats, interruptions of sleep. I can't say for sure that it would necessarily make a difference in the anxiety someone is suffering, but to the extent it might relate to that hormone balance, it's an opportunity. I would work closely with the physician. Nighttime can help with sleep, but I work closely with a physician and see what they could do to help you, perhaps with bioidentical hormones or something like that, but that seems like a pretty significant experience going through perimenopause or menopause. I think Link wants to leave. Is it time to go, buddy? Are you a hungry guy? Are you a hungry guy? Is it time for dinner? Is it time for dinner? I know, it's okay. All right. Okay. I'll just do a couple more questions and then we'll move along. I was asking what products are safe for dogs and for hip movement, and Link here. So again, glucosamine and chondroitin, I give Link a capsule every day. He weighs about 35 pounds. If your dog weighs proportionally more, 2, 3, or 4 capsules for a very large dog. Here's reads like a testimonial. Actually, their veterinarian said the turmeric and ginger is great for their dog in terms of inflammation. And also for stress or anxiety, our valerian extract can be a very calming supplement. Our nighttime at night is again a natural, wonderful source of soothing, relaxing compounds that tries to help to return to us the sleep process. I mean, it's evening. Hopefully we're all going to go to sleep tonight, myself included. But sleep is a process that I think we often forget how important it is. I'm sorry, Link, just 2 minutes, okay, buddy? I'm getting the evil eye from my dog. So to the extent we can all engage in more intelligent approach to creating a hygienic sleep environment, make sure there's no lights illuminating your bedroom. It should be pitch black. It really should be pitch black. It should be cool, and keep it on the colder side. It should be in the mid to high 60s at most. Those are going to be the keys. No caffeine late in the day, no big meals late in the day, but then you don't want to go to bed hungry either. You don't want to exercise late in the day because that makes it difficult to relax after. So you could go online and look up sleep hygiene, and it will give you all sorts of great pointers. Nighttime isn't a sleep drug. It's just a natural tool to help support the relaxation and the quieting of the mind that goes with the natural sleep process. We were designed to go to sleep. We were not designed to stay asleep. But then again, we were not designed to live in the crazy world we live in today with all the challenges, all the stress, all the difficulties we face. So stay away from electronic devices late in the day. If you're going to watch a movie, watch it on a screen that's far away. I never have a TV in my bedroom because I want to keep that place sort of a sacred room for me going to sleep. So I hope that's a good way to finish things talking about sleep. I hope all the different discussions here were helpful. Hopefully it gives you a good insight not just into our products, but into how focused I am about health and helping us all live our very best lives, and how dedicated we are as a company at being a company that you'd be proud of. We have 0 carbon footprint. For every bottle we make, we donate 2 bottles, and we're going to start donating 3 bottles of prenatal vitamins to needy women around the world, not just around the world, but right here in America. About a quarter of the vitamins right here in America. So I thank you for watching. I'll do this again in the future because for me this is a pleasure and a blast. I love seeing all the different kinds of questions, and if I manage to inspire any person or provide any information that allowed you to make a healthier decision, then this was time well spent. So thanks, and I hope to see everyone soon. Take care.